5 core MMO features still missing from Star Citizen. This is from Morphologis. I think I can definitely name more than 5, but there's a couple key ones that keep me frustrated, very very frustrated with the game. Let's see what Morph has to say, though. I wonder if we are kind of on the same page with these things or not.
Guilds and organizations, player-to-player selling, mission rewards, and so on are all amazing features that Star Citizen still doesn't have, even 10 years on. And so, with Star Citizen's first iteration of server meshing literally just around the corner, it may be soon that we start to very sorely miss some of these basic features. And so in this video, I've distilled for you 5...
Morph, I got news for you, but it doesn't take server meshing for me to miss these features. Like, I feel like even with 50 players, you know, I think Conan Exiles has a very similar server count. I think like 80 was the max, and obviously the world is much smaller, but there's also no spaceship, so the world is actually quite large in that game, and some key features are missing that I really enjoyed from that experience. And yeah, I can name them off, but the main one is a sense of purpose is the main one, and that everybody is trying to achieve a goal. The difference with that game is it has skills, it has crafting, and a few other things, and you feel like when you're offline, the other groups are online and they're working and you're not. And I don't feel like you're working towards anything in Star Citizen, so it never feels like you're missing out. And I think that's a big thing about MMOs, or just multiplayer games in general. If you feel like if you're not in working, then somebody else is and you're missing out. And that may sound negative, but to me, that's like a huge positive. I love that aspect of games, and I know a lot of people do, but I imagine some people hate that aspect of games.
Core features that I think are important to any good MMO that Star Citizen desperately needs to get into the game
right now,
as soon as possible. Of course, though, as is with any video on YouTube, it's just my opinion, and so I'm sure that you guys will have your own ideas, which I encourage you to share down in the comments section below. However, while you don't have a choice for what features are missing from Star Citizen, you do have a choice for what features are missing from your computer security, like NordVPN, the sponsor of today's video and somebody who helps make videos like these possible.
Of course, we all need Nord.
They now not only help hide your IP from prying eyes, but go a step further with their new threat protection service. It works against intrusive ads, malware trackers, and malicious websites, and I've already personally used them for years after getting fed up with dealing with free VPNs that just didn't work. So I can now access IP-restricted websites while I work from abroad. I also use the app on my iPad to let me watch shows like Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which for some reason is still not available here in Taiwan, frustratingly. So if you're looking for a reliable VPN service and you want to help support the channel, head on over to nordvpn.com/morphologis to get a huge discount on a 2-year plan, plus get an additional month for free. Oh, and if none of this is really for you, then you can always get your money back with their 30-day money-back guarantee. So to be clear here, there are clearly many missing features from Star Citizen, and that's no secret if you've been following the project. It's been in development for 10 years, and they're also working on a game called Squadron 42, which is essentially a black box of development that we know nothing about. So I'm not trying to be...
And it's also a black hole of development that's taking like all the resources and sucking them up that could possibly add these 5 MMO features that Morph is going to talk about, right?
Very critical of the project here, though it is critical. I'm more trying to lend some insight into what I think is really important and core to a good MMO that Star Citizen.
What did he say?
Insight into the project here. A game called Squadron 42, which is essentially a black box of development that we know nothing about. So I'm not trying to be very critical of the project here, though it is critical. I'm not trying to be critical, lend some insight into what I think is really important and core to a good MMO that Star Citizen really needs to get into the game, considering that we're about to have a huge multiplayer environment. But it should, again, go without saying that...
I also think it's an interesting... I think like we really have to pay attention to what Chris said in the letter. we don't know if we're going to have a big multiplayer environment. We know we're going to have a bigger one because look at what's happening now, right? We see all this tests with 100-player servers or whatever. Now I was on a 120-player server earlier today. The big thing from the letter is they're putting this tech in and they're going to find the edge cases. They're going to find the boundaries. They're going to see what they can do, but we don't actually know what's possible. So that could factor into some of the features that he would like to see in the MMO.
Many of these features are from my own personal list and opinion, so I encourage you guys to share down below what you think is most important to you, because I want to have that kind of conversation down in the comment section below. I really do enjoy talking to you guys about Star Citizen, even off stream and off my YouTube videos on my Discord, so please don't be afraid to get involved in a civil conversation down below.
A civil conversation in YouTube comments
is a really big one, and it's one that I consider to be one of the most important core features to any good MMO, and it's one that is missing from Star Citizen in any practical sense. Some games call them guilds, others call them clans, and in Star Citizen they're called organizations. But whatever the name the developers choose, they all serve the same purpose and come with a similar feature set. They bring together and help organize similarly minded members of a game's community, sometimes under a common cause or purpose, such as for PvP, new player help, or even to just help people who run out of fuel. Looking at you, Fuel Rats from Elite Dangerous. Good work, guys. And they, in many ways...
The thing is, it's so much more than that. Guilds in other MMOs are created because there's content that is absolutely required for larger groups. Larger groups are required to complete said content. So it creates an easy situation to bring everybody together towards whatever that common goal is. The thing is most of the common goals that Morph just mentioned are player-created common goals, whereas development or gameplay feature common goals are I think the real reasons behind orgs, guilds, clans, whatever, in my experience in playing MMOs. Raids and bosses and things like that. PvE content, actually. But, yeah.
And alter the way a game's community perceives the members of those guilds. And they can...
It's essentially like what defeating the Idris should be in Star Citizen, but is just not for, whatever reasons.
Even go so far as to create legends in the community and even alter or augment the way a game is perceived. Think of EVE Online without Goonswarm. Love them or hate them, they've really shaped the landscape of how EVE is perceived by the general public and the player base. More importantly and practically, though, the associated tool sets with
this video taken,
can be pivotal in fostering the good health of a game's community.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Guild halls and chats can create a place for the virtual self to congregate with one's community. It's where members can find assistance on difficult missions, gain insight into difficult parts of the game's mechanics, and importantly, enable the creation of lasting friendships that in turn can create a sense of belonging.
Lasting friendships with everybody but this guy. Nobody be friends with this guy over here.
Of lasting friendships that in turn can create a sense of belonging. Features like guild coffers can also assist members financially during large events or wars, or even on a smaller scale to be able to help out new members or players to get their first ship or item. They enable the community to pool its resources for the betterment of each of its members, further encouraging the development of a healthy community that helps its members and supports the game as a whole. Guild identifiers such as tags or unique clothing, paint, or guild armor also help give its members identity within the larger community, which is also an important psychological factor in making...
I think party markers with a different color and a different icon for your guild members is like... should have happened forever ago.
Making an MMO successful on a personal level.
There's no argument that, server meshing would need something like that.
All of these are sorely missing from Star Citizen. I mean, imagine, if you will,
like an automatic party that you're always in.
Resources could be stored and distributed for large events at ease. Imagine if organization...
And what Morph just said, I know I'm like kind of talking over things.
Resources could be stored and distributed on a level. All of these are sorely missing from Star Citizen. I mean, imagine, if you will, an organization inventory where resources could be stored and distributed for large events at ease.
Organization inventory should include ships, the ability for because there's a huge issue that Star Citizen has. It's the limit of ships that an individual can spawn. And you can only spawn 3. So the idea of these people that have endless fleets, you can only fly, like most people say, you can only fly one of those ships at a time. Technically, you can only use 3 of those ships at a time. The ability to be able to share your ships and on top, and taking it to where Morph took it to, share some level of an inventory, a hangar, something where you have your weapons, your armor, all those things stored, would just take that interaction to a level that it really needs to be at.
Imagine if organization money could be pooled to make a large ship purchase in-game, for example.
That's doable now. We do that in our org all the time. There is the ability to transfer money. There's a workaround for it, but I know what Morph's getting at.
Like, you want to buy a Javelin together with the rest of your org to serve as your organization's home space base. Imagine if you had a place to ask for help in that Idris mission in-game so that members could jump to you and help you complete it. While the Spectrum forums certainly can help somewhat, most people aren't going onto the website to interact
that's actually
with the rest
a good
of the
joke,
community.
Morph.
They're doing it through in-game chat or not at all. Doing this would encourage the creation of a more healthy community in my view, and it's why I think this is one of the most important missing features that we still need to have in Star Citizen. And I just want to tag this one on here. I'd also like to see guild livery so that we can apply ship paints that matches our guild in-game, so you can identify us as separate from other people in the general Star Citizen populace. Another core feature of many MMOs is the ability to sell items to other players through some form of in-game marketplace. For some, that comes in the form of deployable kiosks. Others, like WoW, have dedicated auction halls where players can bid for player-submitted items.
This is like an absolute must-have. Think of the artifacts. I'm sure Morph will get to that.
Whatever their form, they help create a player-driven economy that can bring value to otherwise valueless items. Think, for example, on the new rare ancient artifacts that can be found at the derelict outposts in 3.17.2. Without an in-game marketplace, it's difficult to assess with.
So you would think it would just be something like that, but there's a lot of things that you can do.
Rate.
Think of items that you can only buy. Think of the Atlas Quantum Drive, but putting it at the marketplace at Grimhex, right? It's probably pretty valuable there. Think of certain things that you can only buy on Crusader, but selling them at a different location.
For those objects are, or for someone seeking to buy them to even find somebody who's selling it. While forums and websites can help.
Think of items hidden behind reputation. Selling those on the marketplace.
The vast majority of players, again, are only going to be looking to the in-game environment and features to find things like this, because honestly, it's hard to trust people outside the game and transactions that take place outside the game.
Correct.
Theme park mission sets are a chain of missions driven heavily by story elements that a player is tasked with completing.
Did Morph
In many
dye his
cases,
hair?
it involves many different mission givers who are all somehow involved together in lore in some way. Memorable examples in other games for me include places like Jabba's Palace from Star Wars Galaxy. There you start off by working your way up through the seedy underworld, doing odd jobs for some of Jabba's underlings, all of which builds to you gaining enough respect and notoriety to be able to gain audience with Jabba himself, where he would personally give you a mission that is much higher stakes and much higher paying, typically rewarding you with some unique item. These types of missions give players like me the sense of being part of a bigger universe and story, where we're at the center as the story's protagonist. Experiences like these stay with me even to this day, demonstrating its impact on developing the fondness for a game's title and universe.
Okay, this is I think Morph makes a really good point here. I was talking about this the other day. Reading the lore on the website, or I don't know about you guys, I don't read the mission descriptions as much. How do we tell the story of the Star Citizen universe through theme park missions? Does it all have to be voice acted? I mean, Star Citizen is a game that is pushing the boundaries in so many ways. should we have the expectation of everything being voice acted? Maybe not everything, but a lot of things, or at least these theme park type missions. Yeah, probably. That's what I'm thinking. Every MMO has story arcs, seasons, things like that. I'm not saying every mission, but the main story arc in the game should. But then there should be story arcs in every system. Should those be voice acted? To what level? How much money are we going to ask these people to spend to make the game good? There's no main story now, obviously, but there should be. If it's going to be an MMO, there should be a main story. We just are only in one star system. It's hard to have one right now, right? So, yeah, it's interesting.
Imagine what kind of connection you would feel to the universe of Star Citizen, and how immersed you would be if, in order to talk to someone like Twitch in Area 18, the leader of a gang, you would need to do a series of missions for her underlings in order to gain her trust. All of which would be paid off in an epic mission that she gives you to hijack, for example, a UEE capital ship. In virtually every MMO that I've ever played, missions and milestones like passing a certain level often come with a reward of not just in-game currency, but a unique item as well. These serve as totems of achievement that display an individual's prowess or status. Further, and as a result, they become the objects of great desire for other gamers to strive for,
armor.
Especially in cases where the triggering milestone or mission can only be achieved through some great difficulty. I hope it's not becoming too tiresome, but thinking back on Star Wars Galaxies again, I remember the Bane's Heart lightsaber crystal that you could get on Kashyyyk. There was a series of missions that you would have to go through before you'd be able to get down to fight this main boss, and I kinda am fuzzy on the details, but I do remember that they had a chance to drop this super rare lightsaber crystal. If you got it, it had really interesting unique attributes and had a unique color, and anybody who had it could show off that they had something super unique that you really couldn't buy anywhere else. And so it really pushed a lot of members of the community to work together to try to get one for themselves. Applying this to Star Citizen, imagine if you finally achieved Master Bounty Hunter on your reputation bar, and you unlocked a unique set of armor and a ship skin for your favorite ship to broadcast your mastery of the art. And finally, one of my favorite missing features.
All right, so this is finally, so I want to bring in and add to what he said. It's not just items. It's not just rewards. You know what? I'll wait. Let him finish, and I'll do a final.
Player and guild housing.
Morph actually gave me feedback on these videos, and
for many reasons
I'll listen to his
player.
feedback.
For some, it's simply for the immersion of having a place to return to after a hard day of grinding your next level. For others, it's a place to store valuable items for future adventures. For me,
I disagree
it
with
was
this.
one of the places that I could use to store valuable objects and display them for friends when we would gather for social events or to do a really cool mission together. It offers a place for us to regale stories of our past adventures. Imagine, for example, being able to display that rare artifact you found on Microtech for your friends to ogle over.
This is where I do agree.
Perhaps a place to display that unique weapon that triggers a memory for you that you had with a bunch of your guildmates last year. And lastly, I know I said I'd do 5, but I gotta get this one in here as an honorary mention because it's partially in the game, but not really fully there yet. And that's player customization, but for ships.
Yeah, and the thing is I think they really had it down with the 300i, and then they said that it didn't scale. And it was just like, fuck, because that was really solid.
Well, it may seem intellectually insignificant and has no real practical gameplay implication, it can be one of the most psychologically important features that a game can have. It enables the ability for players to establish their own unique identity, or to be able to express an identity that they wish to share with others. And so in my view, it's core to any good MMO feature set, and one that Star Citizen really could improve. While Star Citizen has a huge variety of player armor and clothing to choose from in-game, which is why this is an honorary mention, a large component of a player's identity in Star Citizen is in the ship that they fly. In recent years, we've been able to get a slow drip of new skins for various ships in Star Citizen. However, there still exists a huge amount of ships that still don't have skins, and for those who have them, there just aren't that many choices. And beyond the paint of one ship, there's nothing that a player can really do to change the form of a ship or its interior. None of that is changeable, and so we're really left with ships that tend to feel pretty basic, evoking little emotional attachment between players and their ships. Imagine, if you will, a future where your ship is like the Millennium Falcon, a bit rubbish looking, but it's packed with full custom parts that make it faster than people expect. Imagine augmenting the exterior to give it a really cool looking engine or something like that.
This is just too big of a... They won't do this.
Really you. And then on the interior,
I
it's
like the
decorated
idea, but
in
they
the way
won't do
that
it.
you want, with some trophies of your past bounty hunting experiences. Or imagine you have a dark side and you just want to destroy the corpses of your enemy ships that you've destroyed on your hull. It's a bit stretching it, but I mean, it would be kind of cool to like be a Reaver in Star Citizen on an alt account. I don't know, it's kind of fun to do stuff like that. And I should also mention here that player face and body customization along with the player's hair is also in sore need of some love.
Yes.
But I digress, because this is a rabbit hole that I could keep going down for hours. Now, there are
because there's so much missing from Star Citizen. There's not just 5 things.
Many more core features that I really didn't mention here, some more minor and some more major. And each of you are likely to see something a little bit different as you play Star Citizen differently. And so, as I said at the beginning more than once, I want you guys to share down below what you agree with in this video and what you disagree with, and what things you wish you saw on the list. And of course, if you like this video and you think I did a good job, you know what to do. Hope to see you guys next time.
All right. So, great video. I think probably one of Morph's best videos of his critical videos that he's done. I think that was fantastic. The first thing that jumps to mind that I like completely disagreed with, not completely, but partly, is the player housing, that kind of stuff. And he did kind of touch on it when he went to the ship interior customization. But the ability to live on a ship, I think ships have to provide that a little bit more, and to have your ship be your housing, I think is something that's really big. But a safe place to display all your cool stuff that you found throughout the verse is, I think, the point that he was getting at. And I when I look at ship interiors, they're so built and designed to drive that emotion out of you that it is your home, that I would like them to create more functionality and ability for it to actually be your home. But the main thing that I think he alludes to very slightly but doesn't really touch on is MMOs always have a grind, but some people would consider that a negative thing. Some people would consider that a positive thing. The issue here that I see that CIG is missing is building upon the reputation system first, and I think he touched on that with mission rewards and all sorts of things like that. The thing here is I touched on it at the very beginning. For me personally, what drives my love for games of these types is knowing that somebody has already achieved and is doing certain content that I can't do yet, or is working their way there, and it's a development race to get there. Games like Rust, games like DayZ, kind of, not really. Games like Conan Exiles, games like Albion Online, Ultima Online, probably WoW, but I've never played WoW. But just in general, games that have skills, you're usually working your skill up to get there. In Star Citizen, well, CIG kind of ruined one of the major progression paths, which would be starting with the starter ship and then moving your way to some of these larger special ships, because people just swipe that credit card and buy them now. So that is basically one of the core MMO features completely, utterly destroyed. And it is what it is. I don't think it's the end of the world. It's not good, but it's not the end of the world, because reputation could save that. And I hope that it does. But what will drive player interaction, what will drive players to play, is the core MMO feature that's missing. What drives you to play the game right now? It's not an MMO. It has no like there's so much missing. There's no economy. There's no driving force in the game. And it's weird because Star Citizen is such a different game with lacking skills that I'm not sure what will drive us. And that's what scares me the most about the game is how will reputation drive the need to log in? And how will it create a scenario where I feel like some of you are playing and working towards that goal and I'm missing out? Because that, for me, is the driving force behind MMOs and what makes me love them. Like, I would write down lists of the tasks that I need to do for that day. Am I running low on Quantanium because, I need that for my drives? Well, no, because it costs 2 credits to fill up your ship, unless you're like an MSR or something. There's no gold sinks. That's something he missed. Gold sinks are important, right? There's all sorts of things like that, and it's very frustrating, very, very frustrating to see the lack of MMO features in the game, but it is what it is, and I don't know what it needs to drive me because there's so much missing. But I need that spark, that idea that somebody else is in there playing and I'm not, and I can't wait to get home from work and turn on my computer. I've gotten that from nearly every MMO I've ever played. I don't get that from this one. And I don't know what it's going to take to get there. But I know it needs to be there. What is that spark in this game? Because in many other games, that spark is skills, grinding, reputation, item level stuff. Is it going to be reputation? I hope it is. And it's my biggest disappointment is the lack of development time being spent on continuing to build on the game's reputation. The one thing that I will say, and I've said this a lot today, is that the main issue here is Star Citizen doesn't know the limitations of their tech because they're still building their tech. Once they know the limitations of their tech, I think they're going to be way more open of what their end game, mid game, early game is going to look like. Once they know the limitations of what they can do with their end game, then they can go down the line. So until we see server meshing and we know the limitations of the game, right now we're just going to be in the dark. And, Morph's throwing darts at what he feels needs to be in the game. I'm throwing darts at what I feel needs to be in the game. And all of you guys are doing the same thing. And we don't even know where the dartboard is.